everyone, welcome back, and in this video I'll be giving you some information on triple triangle for project management. Now this is related to project management and how decisions are made in projects. So sometimes it's called as a triple triangle, sometimes people call it the iron triangle, or it's called the triple constraint triangle, a golden triangle. There are different names to it, but it all relates to the same concept, and that's what we'll be seeing in this video. So let's get into it. So the triple constraints of project management. Now if you see in any project, okay, there are three constraints, major constraints and factors. So a project consists of the cost factor, the scope and the time, okay. So it's of a triangle where all three sides are balanced. So the cost has to be balanced for a project, the scope should be balanced, as well as there should be a time balance in a project. So sometimes, as far as I heard, sometimes people say it's the cost, time and scope. Some people call it the cost, time and quality. Okay, but there's a difference between scope and quality. It's not always the same, but there's always a balance between the three factors. And a very another important point to keep in mind is whenever one factor is altered or there is a change in any one factor, it will definitely affect the other two factors. Okay, so that's about the triple constraints, and now we'll be seeing an example as to how they get altered. So let's take an example. An e-commerce company gives a project to company X with scope to build a web app within 6 months with a budget of around $90,000. Okay, so this is just a very vague example. So if you see here, we have three constraints, which is cost, scope and time. So we see that the scope is to build a web application, and the features or the modules are order, payments and delivery. And the time is 6 months and the cost is about $90,000. So now with these three constraints, let us see different scenarios as to whenever one constraint is altered, how the other two get affected. So when you take the first scenario, the client now wants a mobile application also. So if you see here, there is a change in scope, okay. So because of this scope change, previously it was just a web app, but now it's a mobile application. So now the project managers, they need to check and see if this scope change is going to affect the other two. Definitely it will affect the other two constraints. So since this is something else that's added to the scope, definitely it will affect the cost and the time. So what was able to be completed in 6 months, now it will require 10 months timeline. And also, of course, cost will increase from the estimation that the project manager has put is from $90,000 to $300,000, because the cost comprises of the various resources that are involved. Of course, you need to pay the people who are developing the app, you need to pay for other resources. So taking all that into consideration, there is also a alteration in the cost constraint. So this is about the scope change. The next scenario is the client wants the project in 6 months. Okay, so now here there is a time change. So when there is a time change, so the client says that instead of 10 months, they want it within 6 months. So of course the project team will say that they will not be able to complete the scope, all the items in the scope. So you have the web application plus the mobile app. So since the time is reduced, it's going to affect the scope, and the team comes up with an alternative saying that only the web application can be completed in 6 months. And when you see how this affects the cost side is, since there is a particular module not being built, that's the mobile application side of it, the cost is also reduced. If you notice, sometimes if additional functionalities are added, in the previous case, cost can increase also. So the third scenario is the client's budget is now only 60,000. Okay, so because of some reasons, the client says that they have a very low budget. So at that time, there is a cost change. So with this cost change, definitely the team also will have to plan accordingly. So as to how many people they can employ, they can put onto the team in order to develop the e-commerce application. So with that particular cost, it's estimated that the team will be able only to complete the web application with the order and payment module. And when you see the time, since the delivery module is not going to be worked on in that particular duration for that particular project, the time also may get altered to from 6 months to 5 months. So because of the change in cost, the scope and time now gets altered. So this is the example of how whenever a constraint is updated, it affects the other two constraints also. So this the triple triangle or the triangle constraints of a project is very helpful when you need to plan for a project. It acts as a very good planner and a guideline, okay? And there should always be a perfect balance between these three constraints: the time, cost and scope. Else it's going to create a little bit of a chaos in the project. So that's what project managers always keep tracking and see. So I hope that you got some information on what is a triple triangle, a golden triangle, or triangle constraints of project management. So if you found this helpful and useful, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks and share it to your friends. Thank you.